Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Where Is. So today we are talking about Lars Mittank, and I'm telling you guys, this is one of the weirdest missing persons cases that I've ever come across, and it's one that has been baffling me for a really long time, like before I even started making these videos. And before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that we do have another campaign for THORN for this Where Is video, as always. Now, I'm changing it up a little bit. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I take artwork from subscribers that submitted. I don't just take it from them, but they submit artwork to me, and if it is something I think will sell well, I put it on shirts and we sell it, and 100% of the profit from the shirts goes to an organization called THORN.
And I started a foundation called THORN.
Yes.
With my ex-wife, and we're building digital tools to fight human trafficking.
So I do have a design for this month. This design was made by a subscriber named Brooke. I'm gonna link her information below. I loved her design. I absolutely love this. I can't wait to have one of my own. And then I also wanted to let you guys know that I've decided to use a shirt that we used like 2 or 3 videos ago, and it just did so well. It says "Protect the Children." It was made by a subscriber. I will have her information linked below as well. It has my logo combined with a rose for THORN, and I just love the design so much, and it sold really well. So what I've decided to do is have that as a permanent design in my store. So it is there 100% of the time now, and 100% of the profit from that as well will go to THORN forever. So it's awesome. It'll always be there. So you can buy the current limited edition shirt designed by Brooke, or you can buy the permanent collection THORN design, and the money from both of those will go directly towards saving these children from these situations. If you don't want a shirt, or you only, have a couple of dollars that you want to spare, there is a way to donate via a link in the description box where you can donate as much as you want, and it'll go into our grand total for donations. And I want to let you guys know that so far we have raised over $37,000 for THORN. So the links to buy the shirts will be below. Now let's go ahead and get into the Lars Mittank case. So Lars Mittank was born on February 19th of 1986. He lived in Northwest Germany, and he worked at a power plant. So in June of 2014, Lars was 28 at this time. He and his friends and some prior schoolmates decided to go on kind of a big boys trip together. So they thought about all the different places they could go, and they finally settled on going to the Golden Sands in Bulgaria. So Golden Sands is actually a major seaside resort on the northern Bulgarian Black Sea coast. Lars and his friends left on June 30th, and they were supposed to come back on July 7th, and they were staying at a super fancy hotel. It was called the HVD Viva Hotel. And when they got there, the trip was fun. It was going great so far. Everything seemed normal, and Lars in particular seemed normal. So the first part of the trip was going really smoothly, and it wasn't until the last couple days that some shit went down. Lars ended up getting involved in 2 different altercations. Now, before we get into this, I do want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. This story is very, very foggy. There's a lot of conspiracy around it. There's a lot of rumor and kind of false information and details that, are reported differently in some places than they are in other places. And most of the info on this case that is found online is written in German. So maybe any of my German subscribers out there know more about this or can correct anything if there are details that are wrong. Because like I said, there were multiple versions of things. It was hard to figure out what the truth was, but here's my best shot at it. So basically on July 6th, Lars and his buddies went to a local bar to watch the Costa Rica versus Netherlands World Cup soccer game. Apparently, they were just sitting at the bar watching the game when all of a sudden one of the people that were at the bar started arguing with Lars, or maybe Lars started arguing with him about the soccer game. So the arguing started as, banter back and forth, but it ended up in a physical altercation. And this fight was actually pretty bad. Lars ended up getting hit so hard in the head that he had to go to a local hospital. So they took him there, and when doctors saw him and looked in his ear, they figured out that he had a ruptured eardrum from being hit so hard. Lars was scheduled to leave on a plane the next day, and this is one of those parts that's really confusing. Some of the sources say that doctors told him that he could fly, that it would be fine to fly with a ruptured eardrum the next day, which I don't think they would say that, but I'm not a doctor. However, I have punctured my my eardrum and I wasn't able to fly. I've had just like ear injuries where I've been advised not to fly. I've had like so many problems with my ears. And if you're having like eardrum problems or just ear problems in general on a plane, it is excruciatingly painful. I had that happen to me, and I had such bad ear pain on a flight one time that I just threw up. It was so bad. So my guess is that they probably told him to wait it out a few days, but they may have told him it would have been fine to fly. I don't really know. At the same time though, I guess it is safe to fly with a ruptured eardrum. It just might hurt a lot. So the doctor ended up prescribing him with some antibiotics called cefuroxime. I hope I'm saying that right. This particular medication does say that it is recommended to stay away from alcohol or consume it in moderation to avoid unwanted side effects. So Lars and his friends still had their flight booked for the next day, which was July 7th. However, Lars decided that he was gonna stay back, which I'm guessing was because of his ear. And his friends felt really bad. They really didn't want to leave him there, but he insisted that he would be fine. However, later that night, another really strange event happened. So apparently the same day that Lars got hit in the face and ended up in the hospital, he decided to go back out that night with his friends. So later that night, Lars and his friends were at a McDonald's getting food, and Lars was actually sitting out front because he wasn't very hungry, and he just told his friends to go ahead and go on in without him. So Lars's friends went in, they got food, and when they came out, Lars was gone. They had no idea what happened to him or where he went, and I don't know if they really did anything about this, but he, I guess, showed up the next morning on July 7th, and when he got back, he claimed that he had been in another fight. He said the same men who attacked him earlier that day actually hired some Russians to come find him and take care of him. So his friends were obviously like, what? But he assured them that he was fine and they should still go on the plane that day home back to Germany. So they took his word for it, figured he was fine, and all of his friends got on a plane and headed back to Germany and left Lars there. So later that night, Lars decided that he was going to check into a different hotel in Varna called Color. Now, sources say that this hotel wasn't in the greatest part of town. The night that he checked into the hotel, he called his mother once he settled in, and she said that he was acting extremely bizarre. He told his mom that something was wrong and he didn't feel safe. He said the same men that he had gotten in a fight with earlier were following him. He started telling his mom to cancel all his credit cards and debit cards. And he told her that the men knew he had pills on him and they were after him for them. Now, these were just antibiotics from the doctor, you know, from his eardrum. So why would some criminals want them? So Lars basically was freaking out and he wanted to get the fuck out of there. I mean, he's alone there. He's starting to get scared. So his mom booked him a flight for the next day, July 8th. And staff at the hotel that he was staying at also reported Lars having strange behavior that day. They said he was just acting really weird when he was checking in. They said that he seemed extremely nervous. Apparently he left the hotel at 1 a.m. He was gone for about an hour and then he came back and no one knows where he went. So the next morning on the 8th, Lars was scheduled to go home that day. So he gets a taxi to take him to the airport. So when Lars got to the airport, he texted his mom to let her know that he had made it safely to the airport. So he gets to the airport, as you can see in the security footage from the airport security, and he looks pretty normal. He's just walking through the airport. He's wearing a yellow jacket, jean shorts, had a red and black backpack, and a duffel bag. So when he got into the airport, he first had a brief conversation with a woman, and then he proceeded to go to a medical center at the airport. Now, people think that he was asking for directions to the medical center when he was talking to the woman. Some sources say that he was gonna go to the medical clinic to get his ear checked because his mom was concerned and wanted to have it looked at one more time before he got on the plane. So Lars was in the medical center being checked out for a little under an hour when a man wearing a construction worker outfit came into the center. And once Lars saw this man, he got extremely freaked out. He started mumbling to himself and to the doctor, and then said something along the lines of, "I don't want to die here, I have to get out of here." And as you can see in this footage, he immediately runs out of the airport, like ferociously running, and didn't take any of his bags with him, which is so bizarre. Now, he ran straight out of the building and all the way across the parking lot, and he was like hauling ass. And then he climbed a barbed wire fence and kept running off into the woods. Now, this is literally the last known footage of Lars. After this, gone. And time went on with literally no answers, and no one had heard from him, no one had seen him until 2015, when a truck driver on Easter said he saw Lars, or thought he saw Lars, but nothing ever came out of this tip. Since his disappearance, there have been like some photos of homeless men that people think look like him, but nothing has ever came of these, and there have been no proof other than it's just people who look like him. So what on earth happened to Lars Mittank? There are a couple different theories. The first one is that he set himself up. Some people think he literally orchestrated this whole plan, made himself look kind of crazy, and dipped out like that in order to start a new life. Some people even believe that he purposely got in a fight so that he could get injured and wouldn't have to get on the plane, and his friends could leave without him, allowing him to disappear and start his new life. Now, you also think about the fact that he left all his shit at the airport, his phone, his passport, his wallet, everything gone. He has no attachment to his identity now. He's just him running around. Now, what is interesting is Lars was described as being someone who was very outdoorsy and could hunt and fish and like fend for himself in the wild. So it's possibly he's still living out there. Another theory is that the medication that he was put on caused some type of strange reaction for him. This is a really commonly prescribed drug, and people take it all the time, so it'd be kind of unusual. And at this point, he wouldn't have even been on the medication for longer than 24 hours. So it'd be a little hard for something like that to take a toll on your mental state. The most common side effect of this drug are chills, diarrhea, fever, and general feeling of illness and discomfort and headache. But there definitely aren't any side effects listed about having a psychological reaction. And then there's people that think that maybe Lars suffered from a traumatic brain injury. Is it possible that when he was hit in the head, he ended up with TBI, traumatic brain injury? It is possible that the first doctor who looked at his ear missed something, and maybe once they saw that his eardrum had the problem, they stopped looking for other problems. And it makes sense, he was hit pretty freaking hard. I mean, if you're hit hard enough that your eardrum ruptures, you definitely could have been hit hard enough to have a traumatic brain injury, which can cause a personality shift, a psychotic reaction, and traumatic brain injury can cause multiple side effects: memory and concentration problems, mood changes, mood swings, personality change, feeling depressed or anxious, or even confused and disoriented. Now, some of these kind of match his behavior when he was being medically evaluated. The doctor at the medical clinic mentioned that Lars seemed fit and healthy but was trembling and nervous. Now, what's interesting is when someone develops some traumatic brain injury, they don't always start showing signs right away. Sometimes it can take days, weeks, months, even a year. Another thought is that maybe Lars suffered from schizophrenia. Schizophrenia normally shows up for people between the ages of 16 and 30. It's not as common to see symptoms of this at around Lars's age, but it is still possible. But the thing that is really hard about this whole theory is that schizophrenia normally shows signs for months leading up or years leading up to it, really coming out. I mean, you don't just develop full-blown schizophrenia overnight. So I don't know. It's possible, but I feel like it's less likely than the other options. But it is possible that maybe he was hit hard enough that schizophrenic symptoms all of a sudden came to the surface. Another theory that people have is that Lars was forced to be a drug mule. So this is really scary, but it is actually common for tourists in certain areas to be captured and forced to transport drugs through an airport, and that could explain why he disappeared at McDonald's and didn't show up till the next morning. Now, a lot of people say that this is probably unlikely because they did search his bags. I mean, he left them at the airport and there weren't any drugs in them. However, one common way that drug mules will transport drugs is in their body. I know this is disgusting, but a lot of people will transport drugs this way. They will put some type of drug in a little baggie, seal it on up, swallow that shit, and then they digest it, and you guessed it, shit it out later. So is it possible that someone forced him to do this? And if you think about that, maybe sometimes these little drug baggies open up inside of someone, and your body's gonna digest the drugs as well, and if it's a large amount of drugs, it could really cause a crazy reaction, something similar to what happened to Lars. When he was in the taxi driver did notice that his eyes were really dilated, which could mean drugs. If that's the case, he could have run into the forest and overdosed and died. But this doesn't explain his strange behavior beforehand, such as, freaking out to his mom, wanting to cancel his credit and debit cards. I mean, Kinda though, because if you think about it, like if you were dealing with a bunch of drug mules, you'd want to like protect as much of your identity as possible. But it's also weird that if he was in the middle of overdosing and having a horrible drug reaction, he wouldn't have made it that far into the forest, and they likely would have searched the area. So wouldn't they have found a body? So a long time went by without anything until December 2016. Police in Brazil found a man walking along the highway barefoot. He was disoriented and confused. His clothes were rumpled. He had no identification, no past. He didn't know where he was. And this is a photo of him lying in a hospital bed. And this actually went like viral on social media. He looks just like Lars, the same height, same build. And so people were starting to think that it was him. However, this man was identified later on, and his name is Anton. It's not Lars. But what's interesting is Anton was a Canadian humanitarian worker who had been missing for 5 years. So the good news here is he was reunited with his family. But Lars is still nowhere to be found. There are a lot of people that think he has died. There are a lot of people that think he's alive and well and out there. So I would love to know what you guys think. Definitely leave me a comment and share your thoughts. If you are feeling kind, please consider donating to our THORN campaign or buying one of the shirts. I promise it all goes to such a good cause, and you can feel really good about treating yourself. But that's it for me today, guys. I hope you're having a great day. Stay safe, and I will talk to you next time.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go?